It's Robert here from robertcbrand.online. I hope you're having a fantabulous day wherever you are in the world today. Now, today's video is all about top tips for unlearning bad habits. We're going to get stuck into the why. We're going to talk about the what and the how of getting this all handled. And if you need any more help at the end, I'm going to give you some places to go for some more resources and support. Could that be any better? Oh, well, I'm glad to hear it. Let's get started. Firstly, let me talk to you about why you need to get this handled. We are creatures of habit, and we can reprogram our subconscious mind, which in effect reprograms who we are on an inner level. We can do that through repetition, through creating new habits, but we can also do that by responding to bad habits. The more that we do things over a period of time, and it's almost like compound interest on money. It's the same thing. The more you repeat a bad habit, the more ingrained it becomes in your subconscious and the more a part of who you are it really becomes. So you end up maybe consciously on a conscious level reaching for all of this great stuff, but down here on a subconscious level, the 95% of you is pushing against. And that's clearly not good. And that's why you've got to get this handled and actually start to develop some really, really positive, more supportive habits to push you in the direction that you wish to go. So the first thing you need to do if you're going to create more supportive habits is actually learn to recognize those habits that are anything but supportive, anything but positive. They're negative and they're actually stealing your future from you. You need to recognize what it is that you're doing right now that is not serving you. And then when you recognize those habits, then you can set about replacing those with newer, more supportive, more positive and more uplifting habits, which will take you closer to what it is you want to show up in your reality, rather than compounding on all the negative stuff and bringing more of that into your reality, which is what you don't want. So it's a matter of really being aware of where you are, what you're doing wrong, and getting clear about that. And also not just the habits, but maybe the triggers for those habits. Okay, the things that happen, the things that show up in your external reality that actually make you respond in a certain way, or get you, I shouldn't say make, that's a choice, that's a decision, but actually get you to make a decision to follow a negative habit pattern. Then once you've recognized it, you can start to replace it with newer, more supportive stuff that will push you forward and enable you to be, do and have everything that it is you want. So let's move on a step further. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that you've got all of that stuff that I've just mentioned handled. You're now recognizing your negative habit patterns. You're recognizing what triggers you to spiral into them. That's all great stuff. So now you can deal with those habit patterns and replace them with something more supportive, more positive, more empowering. Now, you may say to me or yourself, you may say, well, how? How should I behave? What should I do? What should I replace it with? Well, there are a few ways of doing this. I mean, of course, one is modeling. One good suggestion, if you're in that situation where you think, right, okay, I recognize the trigger, I recognize the negative habit pattern that I want to replace, but I'm not sure what I should replace it with. How should I behave? What should I do to move myself forward? Well, if you look at, you've probably heard of modeling. If you look at anybody that you really aspire to be like in certain ways, that has got maybe what you want, or they deliver something in the way you'd like to deliver it, they've got the type of success you're looking for, then imagine to yourself that just for a moment you're in their shoes. If you were them, how would you respond? What would you do? And it will get you over that blockage. Another thing you can do as well is to imagine yourself all the way in the future having everything that you want in your life. And then you can take backward steps and retrace your steps, and you will discover the habits and the steps that you took to get there. And that will suggest to you the type of behaviours that supported you on your journey rather than actually trying to sabotage you. So all you've got to do, and here's another one, I mustn't forget, this is really going to sound silly if you've never come across it, but it works. You may turn around to me and say, hey Rob, sounds great, but I don't really know what sort of habits I should be trying to cultivate in order to move myself forward. And I would say to you, okay, great. But if you did know, what do you suppose they might be? And what that does, it gets you over that limiting belief, that block, that self-imposed block, and gets you to just discard that for a second. And just for a moment, imagine that you did know. And it's amazing how the answers will show up. So, in summary, first couple of steps are to recognize exactly what your negative behavior patterns are. Recognize how you're self-sabotaging right now. Recognize what the triggers are. And then make a conscious decision to replace those habit patterns with a newer, more supportive, more empowering one every time that trigger goes off in the future. And if you don't know how to do that, look at somebody you admire and imagine how they would handle it. Ask yourself, well, if I did know, what would I do? Do whatever it takes to get yourself here and here in a space where you're empowered and you can come up with answers rather than focusing on your problem. Because you have the answers inside you. The whole of the coaching profession is based on the premise that every client you ever have has actually got the key to their future locked inside them. They have every answer they ever required to any question they've ever had in there, but for whatever reason, because they're blocking themselves or they have fear about facing it, they are not able to act on the information that they actually have in there. And the job of the coach is to have a powerful questioning session with them and to extract those answers from them and make them realize and face it by really, really, really clever and provocative questioning that gets them to face up to stuff and actually start to recognize that they've got the information in there. And then obviously help them to find the courage to take action, to move forward and get the results they want to show up in their life. So, hope that makes sense. It's really difficult for me to dig into this stuff too deep without going on for hours and hours. But if you want to dig further into this particular subject, or if you want to find out more about all things personal development and spiritual growth, join me over at robertcbrown.online. That's robertcbrown.online, and you can join my community of like-minded individuals. They're all over there committed to their own personal growth and spiritual alignment and to making a positive difference in this beautiful world of ours. So get yourself over there and get on my email list, and I would love to welcome you over there and get to know you better. And of course, hopefully help empower you to be, do and have more with your life. It's been an absolute pleasure. Keep checking in. I'm here every day. Take care. Bye-bye.